guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another episode of JESSMAS. Today is gonna be a little painful for me because I gotta relive this, but guys, I feel like every crazy thing that happens can be a really good story to tell. Even in the midst of some crazy moments, I've been like, at least this is gonna be a good story. At least at a party someday, I'm gonna be able to tell this story and make people laugh. So this is just like a lighthearted video. I hope that you guys can laugh at my pain, and I hope this never happens to you. But today I'm gonna talk about a crazy airline experience that I had this year when I flew to London. So if you're interested in hearing all about it, let's get into it. Keep on watching. All right, so I live in Hawaii, and we were traveling to the UK. If I remember the flight path we took, it was Honolulu to LA, and then LA directly to the UK. From Honolulu to LA, it's about like 5.5, 5-ish, 6, depends on the wind I feel like, but I feel like it's usually like 5.5 hours. And then from LA to the UK, it was like 9.5 hours, maybe 10 hours, and then ended up being like 9.5. You know how sometimes you get on a flight and like it said that it was gonna be 10 hours and the pilot comes on and is like, says, our flight time today will be 9.5 hours, and you're like all excited? I feel like they do that on purpose or something just to get you excited that it's less. Anyway, like my husband and I both really don't mind long flights. We've done it many times, and you just, once you're on the plane, you're on the plane. And a side note, this kind of like puts into perspective where we were. My husband is a travel agent guru. Like, he's not a travel agent, but he's so good at finding all the deals and like being really patient, and he looks in all the right places. So this was like his score of all scores. He found us a first class ticket for the price that we would pay for economy to get to Michigan. It was set up to be an amazing flight, and then towards the end it just was like, it was crazy. And then we board a different airline that flies internationally. I don't want to put their name in here. I don't know. I'm not mad at them. There's, you know, things happen, but I just don't think, you know, just in case there's something like legally, I can't mention their name. So we get on this next flight, and the way that theirs is set up is that this is a big airline, so their first class is like really, really first class. I don't know how to describe it. I hope that gives you guys a good picture. Really first class. No, it's just like super fancy. And then their premium section was like the normal first class. So not the lay down, but like your normal big first class seats. And then it went into like the economy section. The flight attendants, I've noticed whenever I fly internationally that the flight attendants and everyone are just amazing, like just everything. I've never run into any rude flight attendants ever in international flights. So I was really blown away with like just how amazing they were. And then, you know, being from the UK, they were very proper, and like I was an experience. I was excited. Like these ladies like had the biggest smiles on their faces. I was like, this is gonna be an amazing flight. Like these ladies are taking care of us right now. We sit in our seats, and one thing is on international flights and certain, like in first class, they serve you meals. So they bring out the food. Everything was amazing. Everything tasted great. We had already eaten on the first flight. This has already been quite a while since we left Hawaii now, because we're, you know, when we start that flight, we're probably like 6-7 hours of traveling already. We eat, and then I'm like, okay, we have a long flight. I'm just gonna chill. I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm gonna rest. So I pass out for a little bit. And then when I wake up from my nap, a couple hours have gone by, and all of a sudden I just start to not feel that great. Like I don't remember, it just kind of came on like really subtly, like where I was like, oh, maybe that's the elevation change, or you know, like that like pressure that you get like just from like going up so high. And so I was like, I don't feel very good. All of a sudden I lost my appetite, and like they're bringing stuff around, and I'm like, no thank you. Like it just sounded really gross. Like everything just started changing and going downhill really fast. So fast forward a little bit, like it just starts coming on stronger and stronger. And now we're 2 hours out from landing. And this was like a 10-hour flight, so we're like 2 hours out from landing. So we've been on the plane for a while now. And they serve food probably like hour, a couple hours in, they like serve snacks, and then like their big meal is like maybe 2 hours in, I don't know. I wasn't feeling good, but I didn't think much of it. And I was like, all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the puke feeling. Like, I leaned over to my husband. I was like, I really feel like I could puke right now. But I was just kind of still didn't think I was gonna puke. Like, let me tell you. I was like, oh, I feel like I could just puke. I just want to like pass out. Like, I just hope we're there soon. The way that this cabin was set up is that it was first class, and then this small section of like, I would say more like US first class, but it was like the premium section. And so in the premium section, there was 4 bathrooms. And then there was a bar. So in between the first class and our premium, there was like this bar. So it was a huge plane. It was really cool. You could go up there, hang out. And so anyways, there was a lot of bathrooms, which comes very handy later in the story. But all of a sudden I'm just like, I just don't feel good. I don't think I'm gonna puke, but like, let me just go to the bathroom and like just in case. Like, I looked in the back of the seat back, there was no puke bag, like just in case. I was like, I really feel like this is gonna pass, but I'm gonna get up and just go. And then I go to the bathroom and I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no place, like, throwing up is awful, but throwing up in an airplane bathroom, like, if you guys have ever been on an airplane, they're not the cleanest bathrooms. Like, they kind of smell gross, and like, you know, the flight attendants and like the crews and everything, they do the best they can, but those planes get turned over so fast, they're not going in and scrubbing them in between flights and stuff. So I feel like it already smells kind of bad in there, and I'm like, all of a sudden, like, I don't know, oh my gosh, I don't want to give too much detail so it's not super gross, but I get that like pre-throw up, like, I don't know, like acidic tasting thing in your mouth, and I'm like, this is gonna happen. This is happening right now. But I'm just still thinking like, okay, Jess, let this happen, let nature happen, and just, you have to throw up right now. So I throw up. That was awful, but you know, after you throw up, you're just like, you feel better. I'm like, okay, got that out of my system. Cannot believe that happened. That's crazy. It's gonna be a crazy story. Let's go back to my seat. So I go back to my seat and I'm feeling good. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't been able to eat for hours at this point now because I wasn't feeling good. When it passed, I was like, man, I wonder if I could eat something, but I still didn't. But I was just kind of like, it's been so long, but I still wasn't super hungry, but like I felt so much better after throwing up. This is 2 hours out. Probably, oh no, guys, oh, this was longer than that. This was probably 3 hours out. I'm wrong. This was 3 hours out because at 2 hours out is when it escalated. So 3 hours out, 30 minutes later, like, I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. This feeling came back. So I get up, go to the bathroom, throw up, come back, and every time I'm in the bathroom, like, I'm in the bathroom for like 5 minutes. Like, not just like, oh, dainty little, I feel better, like violent, like, I don't know. It was very contained. But it was such a, like, I don't know how to describe it, but like my body was like, whatever's in here needs to get out. Like, it was like multiple times each time I went into the bathroom, probably like, this is so much detail. I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry if you guys are eating or watching. I don't like throw up, but so probably like 5 or 6 times every time I went into the bathroom, I'm puking. So I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I gotta, like, most of the stuff has to be gone by now. And I'm thinking like, do I have the flu? Like, what is this? I didn't feel sick, and other than like needing to throw up. And so it goes from every 30 minutes for 1 hour. So I puked 2 times within the hour. At 2 hours out, it was like getting worse. I was like, oh my gosh, like kind of like trying to pull myself together, because people at this point I think are noticing, like, nobody was rude to me or anything, but people are starting to notice like, what's going on with this girl? Does she have something I'm gonna catch? And so then at 2 hours out, like seriously every 15 minutes for the last 2 hours, I needed to get up and throw up multiple times in the bathroom. And I'd come and sit down, and every time like I would break out into this sweat, and I was just like, my body was like, oh my gosh. And then it was exhausting. I was so tired, and I'm like, at that, like, I've never had food poisoning before, but let me tell you, when you have food poisoning, you know it's food poisoning. Like, your body is just trying to get everything out that was like poisonous to your system out of your body. And so I'm just like, okay, this is happening. This is really happening. What got bad is that, like, when you have to land, it takes about 30 minutes when they turn on the seatbelt sign to, like, when you touch down. And they're like, okay, we're shutting the bathrooms, blah, blah, blah. So as soon as they turned on that, like, oh, we're 30 minutes out, I was like, okay, I'm going. And I purposely waited for that so that could be like the most last minute. The lady looked at me, and I don't know what they call puking or throwing up in the UK, but she said some word that I just wasn't familiar with. She's like, are you going to blank? And I was just like, in that moment, didn't know what she said, but I knew what she meant. And I was like, yes. She's like, oh, okay. So I'm puking as the plane's going down. And then I get back to my seat, and they searched and found something. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to, like, get sick, like, before we land. It was such a bad experience. I'm sitting there, I have this blanket, and it was loud, and, like, at that point, all the food was out of my stomach. It was just, like, more my body, like, so I'm sitting there, like, sweating, kind of like, oh my gosh, rocking back and forth, like, kind of, I don't know, I was just trying to pull myself together, like, I'm in public. I'm not trying to freak other people out, because at this point I'm like, this is just food poisoning. You guys aren't going to catch anything. But I laid down, or like, I grabbed my blanket, because I was on the aisle. I grabbed my blanket, pulled it over my head, had this bag, and I was just like, and I was able to kind of do my thing and land and all this stuff. And it was just, imagine 3 hours of, like, non-stop, like, the cycle of get sick, feel better for, like, have that relief for, like, probably at the most 5 minutes that I felt some sort of, like, just relief. And then, like, that awful feeling started building back up, and then I started feeling sick till I got sick, and then 5 minutes of relief. And then, so that was like that crazy cycle, like, all the way going into my Europe trip. And so once we got to the airport, we had to go through customs, and I'm like standing in customs, like I had so little energy that I couldn't even barely stand. Like, Steve was asking me questions, and he, like, looked in my face, and he knew what I was going through too. And I was like, it takes so much energy to even talk right now. I was like, so I'm just sitting there, and I'm like trying not to, like, look suspicious going through, like, customs. But I was so sick. I felt so bad. And thankfully, like, the landing puke was the last one. I had this mini feeling of panic because my friend who we were going to stay with lived 3 hours from the airport. And so we had a car waiting for us when we got there. And I'm thinking, you know the feeling, like, when you feel car sick, or when you feel sick in, like, that motion of being in a car, like, how awful that would be? I'm thinking, like, I looked my husband in the soul, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I was like, I'm gonna try and do everything I can, but, like, I don't know if I physically can take any more of this and do this. But it had been, at this point, by the time I got through customs and everything, it had been like an hour, and I hadn't gotten sick, and that was, like, the first time. And, like, at that point, like, 3-4 hours since I wasn't sick, you know, like, from the beginning of when this all came on. And so I'm like, okay, we're gonna try and find some saltines. They did not have saltines, and I realized, duh, you're in another country, they're not gonna have what you have. But we found these little crackers, and thankfully, like, I ended up getting better and better as that drive went on. My stomach was, like, queasy and, like, sick for, like, a couple days after that. Like, no sickness, but you just felt the effects of it. So comment below if you guys have ever had food poisoning, and if this sounds like it, because to me, in the research I did, I was like, yep, food poisoning. And the reason I know that it had to have been on that flight is because, maybe I could be wrong, but any other eating that I had done was probably 5 to 6 hours before on the Hawaii flight. It was a 10-hour flight, and I wasn't throwing up until, like, 3 hours from landing, so 7 hours. Like, you know what I mean? So somewhere in that first 7 hours was when they fed us towards the beginning the first time. Yeah, that was the time that I got food poisoning on a 10-hour flight to the UK. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't gross you out too much. I hope maybe you guys laughed at my pain, and I hope that this never happens to anybody. Now I've experienced what food poisoning is, so. Anyways, I have tons of crazy stories. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know, seriously, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think that's food poisoning, because I think it was. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode of JESSMAS. All right, bye guys.
It's Christmas.